call this January the 14th, 2019 meeting of the Fayette County Area Plan Commission to order. Will you please join me in the pledge of the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Use this because, let me go ahead and mark this here because people who are actually, okay, Ed, Gary's not appointed yet. Kay is appointed, Chad's still there, and the commissioners have not yet appointed Bill Mackey and Stephanie McCann. Okay,
That's it.
that's it.
Okay.
Okay, so if we're ready, we'll have the roll
We'll
call.
try it. Ruby Seiler,
Present.
Dick O'Neill, Ed Harrell.
Here.
Do I call Gary's name?
No, since Gary is not officially appointed, well, we can't introduce Gary after
Okay.
this.
Kay Riker Payton,
Yes.
Chad Frank.
Here.
Bill Mackey's not there. He's not. Stephanie McCann. Absent. Ann Sanders,
Here.
Bill McDaniel, and
Present.
myself.
Yep,
Is that it?
yep.
Okay. And so
We do
we
not
do
have
not
a
have a quorum.
Oh,
Yeah, and honestly, as I was kind of expecting the possibility that we would not have a quorum with as three members who really haven't been appointed yet. And that would be Mr. Naylor, who's going to be the county commissioner's representative. Gary will be official tomorrow, and as will Bill Mackey. And then also the individual that the commissioners will appoint to replace Jason Waterman. So I kind of expected that because I knew there'd be three non-voting, be short of three members. And with weather and what's happened it's understandable that some people might not be here because of the weather and the ice and the snow.
So we can't do approval of the minutes, but we can do introduction of new members.
Absent that we can. Gary and Kay.
I'm Gary Naylor. I will be representing the county commissioners.
Carrie Riker Payton, County Council appointed.
Okay, Gary, Kay, we're glad to have you on the board. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And then, of course, is the,
Well, we can't do election.
nope,
We can't do appointments.
nope,
We can't talk about the annual plan, can we?
yes, we can. Yes, we can. And two primary things I think to try to accomplish is that as longer term members on the board know that I've attempted to do here and there, but things like Supreme Court decisions and signs kind of get in the way. So the two things I think that I would like to do is I think would be beneficial is I do regularly get phone calls about, okay, two things. Can I have a beehive in the, can I have be a beekeeper in the city in a residential area? And can I have chickens for eggs within residential areas? And it's going to be more common with people, and it was a common, probably once a month I field those. And so the idea is that, yes, for the chickens for eggs, it's limited number is I've never raised chickens for eggs, but my understanding with people that do is that six chickens can produce an awful lot of eggs. And so to be the limitations on the number of chickens and then where they'd have to actually be located on the property. And of course, then the big one is how the waste is managed and they have to be maintained in an area within a pen and so on in residential areas. The other aspect of that is no roosters. But and that's because I've had people who've called about the got hens for laying eggs. I say, well, you're thinking about a rooster, are you? He goes, I mean, you don't want a rooster. He goes, that's what I just need to know. And so then the other one is with the bees is that, I mean, there's kind of a gray area as far as the chickens go. Now the one that, I mean, it's complete blank, but I think you just want to make it so people can do it is also with the, make it straight out and out so that people don't think they have to hide if they want to have, have a hive, say in a residential area. And what that just has is the different regulations I've looked at are the, where the bees have to be located, the number of actual hives that you really do have on a residential property, the distance, then the, from neighboring properties, typically they also call for a setback from your own house, just any residential use. Setbacks from the property lines, and if you're within a certain distance, then it calls for, I think, a 6-foot barrier, whether it's vegetative or a fence to force the bees to go up, and then also requiring a source of water for the bees, so that the bees won't water themselves get their water on your property and not go in search of water on other people's property. And I think the appropriate location is that probably as an accessory use, to keep it simple. I've seen some that are just ridiculous with everything that has to be done with the actual permits. It goes over the top, and then the various locations they have, and I think it can be done fairly easily as far as an improvement as an accessory use. And at the most would be an improvement location permits in case someone isn't doing what's right. You have a process then to say, fix the problem, or we'll have to say, we'll have to go through the process to, as far as the chickens go. It's like it gives you a little bit of, does give you a little bit of leverage because you've approved it, but, and typically the board that would hold a hearing on something like this would be the Board of Zoning Appeals. So, for example, if someone does have chickens, but they're letting them run loose, they decide that they're going to bring in a rooster, or they aren't taking care of the waste, then it gives you some means to actually try to fix the problem. So, then the other one, which, well, Ed in particular has heard me about this one for a long time, the home occupations. Basically it's trying to bring the home business rules into 21st century and to reflect the really how things, as far as home offices, electronic businesses, internet businesses. For example, is the references the existing home occupation refers to is as an appropriate and a typical use for as a home occupation is millinery. How many people know what millinery is, much less takes part in millinery? And then with that, it's 1920s, 1930s language. It states that, doctors' offices are, it's perfectly good as a home occupation, but we know the way the medical industry has changed that in most cases it really wouldn't be very appropriate to have a fully staffed doctor's office in a residential area, those type of things. So it's to make it easy and the idea is that if something doesn't cause a problem, you don't know it's there, the use is no more intense than just a residential use. Yeah, they should be able to do it without even having to come to the zoning board to get permission, such as, good example of that is I think most of us probably know someone who does do internet business from home, and they might ship something might come in, something might go out using UPS, something like that, a daily shipment. Well, that's no more intense than you or I might have on a residential property. And so those are the general ideas with it. I mean, I've gathered up a lot of information over time, and then, I've found a lot more sample ordinances and regulations as for the bees and the chickens than I have actually for something that really treats than the home-based business, and which I personally find kind of surprising. And the one I usually make mention to people is that, okay, the way pretty much most home occupation regulations are set up. So for example, is HP and Apple, they both start in the garage. You know, someone doing that right now would be in violation of the zoning code. So that type of thing. So one of the approaches and a way to look at one aspect of home occupations are that it's sort of as an incubator. It can be an incubator tool for trying to grow local businesses. A good example with that was Mr. Gentleman who purchased the Waterloo School with the bills to speakers. He started off at home.
Monster.
Mr. Moster, yes, Mr. Moster. And Mr. Moster started off with a home occupation, and now he built up the business where he then purchased the Waterloo School and then has converted that into the construction and the manufacture for his speakers, which he does pretty much all by, a lot of which is actually done by internet. For people placing the orders and then filling the orders. Those are the general ideas. So. And as we go through with this, just like we did with the sign regulations, any concerns, comments, everything else that comes up through the entire process. So, any things you might have concerns about with, or, for example, Mr. Frank, for example, for looking at say, bees or the city chickens. He's the person that might get a little bit more in the way of phone calls about people about it. Which is sort of when I mentioned, Gary, that one of the roles really of the commissioners and the county council, the city council is really, it's kind of the liaison position that you really actually have. And but the other one always to tell someone if they also have concerns and issues, they need to also get them to me in writing, so I can actually take those into consideration, so that everybody will have access to the same information.
Good. I'm sorry.
Bill, when you're talking about the chickens and the small animals in residential area, are you talking within incorporated residential area?
It'd actually be the rural subdivisions, such as any of the rural subdivisions, or someplace like Bentonville and so on. So it's not just within the city, but it's any place that's the concentrated residential area. So it'd be
Those you shall plat, very much.
exactly, yeah, something like that.
That are platted subdivisions?
Exactly, platted subdivisions.
Okay.
Yep.
Or towns?
Yeah, platted subdivisions are one of the old villages. Yep. Yeah. And that's the primary one with that. Yeah, Ed,
And also the city limits, right?
what's that?
Inside the city limits.
Yeah, also inside the
Sure.
city limits, yeah, since it would be for both in the city and outside.
Well, I can see some time involved in getting that.
Yep. Yeah, because I have some basic things put together, and I think that, won't necessarily do it for February's meeting, but then for March meeting, I'll have something for the Plan Commission members regarding that.
So are you planning on doing both of these this year, starting on both of these, or?
I'll start on both.
Put them in line and
Well,
concentrate on
I'll
one?
get, I'll get things along the line of where I stand with everybody to begin with. But I think that to me, I think since I hear about it most, is perhaps the number one priority might be the ones with the bees and the chickens.
Okay,
Because, people are looking for all sorts of ways to, other means to feed themselves.
that's a good idea.
But also, Bill, I think, if you don't mind
Yeah.
my opinion, the
No,
home
go ahead.
occupation, I mean, I think our number one goal needs to be
Yep.
economic
Yep.
development and encourage economic
Yep.
development. So the easier we make it for these home occupations to develop into
Yep.
bigger businesses,
Yep.
I think we ought to keep that in mind.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And that's one that we can, we can try to keep everything parallel as we go through.
Yeah,
But and for example, there's other ways that you could look at as far as tiering things, as far as something might be appropriate for, say, out in the county on a property, because there's a little bit more potential for being a nuisance. So, for example, there's there's been, I think, 2 or 3, say, home mechanic shops. Now, someplace out in the county that's appropriate, but in a residential area in the city of Connersville is probably not a very good idea, something like that. So let's try to make the language so it really emphasizes that as long as it isn't going to be a nuisance, that's the key to the residential areas.
Well, actually, if I'm thinking about this right, the urban agriculture, there is no ordinance on that right now.
Correct.
Home occupation, on the other hand, there is ordinance for that.
Yes.
And we're talking about revising that or updating it or.
Basically, it's replacing it in its
Yeah,
entirety.
Yeah. So we're talking about developing one and revamping the other.
revamping the.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that'll keep us busy.
Yep. But, okay. Oh, but what I think I will do is I'll need to order some the small little thumb drives. So this way, is those who use computers, is I can get everybody everything on the thumb drive.
2 thumbs up for that one.
Yeah, as Kay put it, is when she was in the office yesterday, she said, "I don't have an optical drive anymore." So okay, so I'll just find some of the figure out what size I need, and then I'll just go ahead and then get those supplies of the appropriate one. Just pick up a supply so I can get those to board members. And it might be the easiest way for me these days to also, when you have new city council members or county council members or county commissioners, to get them a copy of the comprehensive plan on a zip also.
Yeah, that's what I was at.
Yeah, so with that, so all the board members the idea will have the zoning code on it. It'll have the rules of procedure for the APC and the BZA. It'll also have a copy of the comprehensive plan.
Correct.
Yeah, on the one thumb drive.
You can probably do that on an open office too, just have a shared file. That thumb drives would be a lot easier. Easier for you,
Yeah, that's true.
use open office. Cause like I use a Mac, your thumb drive may not work, I have to convert it. If you use open office, you publish it once and anybody can, you can send it to whoever. All we do is log in and get it.
Okay, well, if someday you could visit me and help me set it up, I'd appreciate it.
Take a thumb drive.
Gotcha.
Give me a
Understood.
thumb drive.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. You want to be the idea guy and let someone else do the work.
No. That's what I'm getting into. You don't like computers, is from what I'm understanding. I know what that means.
No, it's just I've never done it. I don't have a problem with it, but I haven't used it at the open office.
Wouldn't be hard.
I've heard that before.
Okay, do we have anything else on the annual plan? Any questions, concerns, thoughts? Moving on to the director's report.
We can't really do anything with that since that requires an action.
Unless there's any discussion on the director's report,
I can't get it back.
and we don't need a motion to adjourn, because we never did.
Exactly. And we made it past our 15-minute point, so
Yep. Okay, so again, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Hopefully the next meeting we'll have a quorum and we can actually get some work done.
Well, from the commissioner's standpoint, I do apologize for our 3 appointments not being official, but we just felt that we wanted to allow some public interest and make sure that we give it the opportunity for that citizen's appointment for anyone or everyone that might be interested. And we do have several names that we're going to have to go through tomorrow. And
Good, that's good.
but as a commissioner, personally, I'm interested in trying to get as many non-elected officials involved in county government as possible, and I just felt that the need for a public announcement for interested people, and we've had good response. We've actually got more people than we've got positions, so
That's good.
that's good.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I guess we are done. Can't be adjourned, but we're done.
I now declare the Fayette County Board of Zoning meeting in order for January 14th, 2019. Please stand and do the pledge of allegiance for me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Oh, and I do have, we have the, Jeff. Minutes. Let's pass those down, Bill. Oh, you need one too, don't you?
That's mine right there.
I already have them.
Okay, roll call, please.
Okay. Carrie Steele. She's absent. Bill Crawford.
Here.
Jeff Fisher.
Here.
Ann Sanders.
Here.
Bill McDaniel.
Present.
And myself.
Oh, don't forget Ruby.
And Ruby. I'm sorry.
We're gonna make her feel like she's not wanted if we keep saying
I
that.
know. I'm beginning to get the hint. He asked me, did I want to stick around?
I know it.
Then he had the name tags mixed up. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes of the December 10th, 2018 meeting. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll second.
A motion properly seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah. All right, now, I would recommend that, well, we don't have any new members to introduce, but I'd recommend that, since there's only 3 members right here, is the, tabling the election of officers until the February meeting.
Okay. Need a motion for that?
Yeah, you do. You table it, yeah.
I'll make a motion for it.
I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion made and properly seconded that we postpone the election of officers for the Board of Zoning till the February meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is the annual plan.
Okay, and the primary 2 things for the, focus on for the annual plan will be, it's the, primarily the, dealing with the, urban agriculture, be the, between the city chickens and then also the urban beekeeping. Because I get requests and questions about it at least once a month. It's kind of a gray area, and I'd like to have something in place in the zoning code that says, okay, allows it as an accessory use, but under these limited conditions. Say the number of chickens set back from the structure to no chickens running loose, no.
Did you give us a paper on that?
Yeah.
Did you?
Same as last time.
Or was it?
Have you actually got any comments from the public about that, since we've been talking about it? Or?
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay. I was just curious.
And the only comments I've really had from anybody in the public are people calling the office asking about the, kind of raised chickens, right? Whether it's in the city or whether it's in one of the subdivisions out in the county. And it's absolutely nothing with the, it's a complete blank as far as the, urban beekeeping goes. So but I think should have something in place that's that, yeah, you can do it, but this is how you have to do it to keep things safe, or minimize the potential for nuisance. Then the other one is the home-based businesses, and well, you know firsthand how archaic those rules are. Since they're basically Depression-era rules. As I said at the Plan Commission meeting, you have rules that are for example, is millinery as an appropriate home occupation when how many people even know what it is, much less practices millinery. Then the other one is has professions such as doctor or dentist as appropriate for a home occupation. As we know right now, is that it's completely different than what nowadays with the number of people, the staff, the number of people that come through, that it'd be rather disruptive in a residential area. So the idea or the things, oh God, I said idea. The idea is that if it really something isn't going to cause, and you really aren't gonna know that it's there, and it isn't causing a problem, such as home offices, could be some of the things that people do on internet business from home. If you don't know it's there, there is no sign, you don't have visitors. The only thing that's happened is you may be some drop-offs and pickups, or someone is doing everything by the internet as far as internet consulting business, something along those lines. If there is no potential for negative effect, it's no more intense than a residential use, you even really need to have someone come before the Board of Zoning Appeals. The other one is there's some uses that could be appropriate in a rural area that wouldn't be appropriate as a home-based business in a residential neighborhood, whether it's at someplace like one of the rural subdivisions or within the city of Connersville.
Right.
So that's the idea with those. Is to try to get these things in there that really relate to things that are really, people are actually concerned about and ask questions about.
So that's what we got to look forward to then, right? Okay.
And after the last few years, or 3 years with sign regulations, is I'm very much up to doing something that's a little less potentially controversial and stressful.
That it?
That's it.
Okay, next we'll go to the director's report.
Yeah. Okay.
Or do you have one?
I did put that in the package, didn't I?
Oh, okay. I probably got it.
Yeah, I did put that in the package.
Yeah,
Director's report.
I remember seeing it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, there you go. That was the, oh, we just passed it up again. That's the director's report. Yep. And what also, was also in the package were all the dates of all the meetings. And of course, is no change with Ruby and no change with you, Jeff, as far as your status, how you want to deal with the, you'd still rather have them mailed or dropped off, the packets?
Yeah.
Okay. And just continue to send Ann yours things to the office.
Fine.
And same thing with you, Bill, drop off or mail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be great.
Okay. And but then and interestingly, we did have a fair bit of an uptick in really single-family dwellings this year, and every one of them, pretty much all of them, are still it's pretty much doing custom homes. Nobody's doing the spec homes and subdivisions because it's a lot of them are people who wanted to do things over the course of years, such as some of Jeff's recent clients here locally. They finally
There's
just,
somewhere in the books.
and they finally do it. Okay, then the other one we've had, though we're gonna have some more this year, is we've had, was that 4 of those are, from Amish families. And then we have another 3 that are relatives of the ones who are here already, have bought some property down in Columbia Township.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be three, they're gonna build 3 dwellings down there.
Oh, really?
So it's gonna be within just this year, 1, 2, 3, 4, seven Amish families.
They're building barns too, I hear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, barns, one is actually built, the barn is a pole barn, the others, actually 2 of them have been pole barns, the others have been with concrete footings. So, and so they're each building, coming in building a pole barn and then also a large accessory structure. So, but, yep.
So I'll take a motion on the director's report.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I take it that you mean to accept it as
Yeah,
presented?
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion made and properly seconded that we accept the director's report as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, but, all right, now, Ruby, of course, I'll have to get a, copy of the zoning ordinance with the, with the actual replacement sign regulations. I'll need to get Ruby a paper copy of the zoning ordinance.
That'd be good.
Yep. And, but, thumb drive good with you, Jeff? Okay, and you, Bill?
I'd like a thumb drive.
Okay, all right.
I'll have both, but
Yeah, well, I know you're not, real hip on receiving all sorts of things over the internet.
I'm just kind of private.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I thought it was just paranoid.
No, I'm not paranoid. No. I keep up a little bit.
We have more busy things that way.
Yeah.
Put it on the internet.
Of course, I don't like to kill a lot of trees either, but sometimes you have to. All righty. Anybody else got anything that you want to talk about? Anything down there?
No.
All right. I'll take a motion for adjournment then.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I will second the motion.
Got a motion made and properly second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.